Do you read Stephen King? Good news, there's a club for you. The Losers Club. Every Friday, us losers journey through the never-ending wastelands of King's Dominion. We sink our teeth into each of King's novels, dive deep into the lore, and review every adaptation. Even better, we're always having guests over. Thomas Jane, Will Wheaton, Mary Lambert, Mick Garris, the list goes on. So what are you waiting for? Join us as we read on through long days and pleasant nights.
Consequence Podcast Network.
Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence of Sound, and the Consequence Podcast Network. I want to thank you for stopping by, especially if you're a subscriber and you check out these interviews as we put them out every single week. Of course, if you're not, you can find us at all the major podcast hotspots like iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, really, wherever you like to get podcasts from. Just type in Kyle Meredith with and subscribe. We'll bring a new interview to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. 3 interviews a week so you can keep up with your favorite artists and discover some new ones and know what's happening in the music world. I'm Kyle Meredith, and today my guest, comedian Jamie Kennedy. We're going to be talking about him hosting the 8th season of Coming to the Stage, which is part of Comedy Dynamics right now, as well as his new series on Tubi called Stoopid Smart. Now, some really interesting discussions here, like getting your 10,000 hours. That's something, most professionals, that's sort of a phrase. You got to get your 10,000 hours before you're really good at something, or at least getting good at something. But of course, a lot of artists, comedians, musicians, everybody's able to get started a lot earlier in their life, maybe than they would have in the past. So we'll discuss what that's been like, and then getting into his art, especially in his new special, Stoopid Smart. We'll hear about the arts of the callback and flow, the importance of flow especially. One of the bits that I have to point out is an impersonation of Matthew McConaughey that also has to do with Bradley Cooper, as well as some self-deprecation on his part, but admiration for the new Hannah Gadsby special that she's got out. And then as an actor, of course, a lot of us, we first came to know Jamie Kennedy in the 90s with the Scream movies. Lately, he's been part of a pair of Tremors sequels, number 5 and 6. We'll hear about what that experience has been like and his working relationship with Michael Gross as well. So let's jump into this. It's Kyle Meredith with Jamie Kennedy.
Kyle, what's up, Jamie Kennedy?
First off, we'll start. You got a lot going on, and it's been really kind of cool to dive into all this and see some of this. And we'll start out with Coming to the Stage. I know that's sort of one of the most recent things. You're the host of season 8 on this, which is a cool series. I mean, it's been around again for 8 seasons. What kind of gig is this for you? Because it's a hosting gig. It's not the usual type of stand-up. I mean, it's different, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like Def Comedy Jam or Comic View, or when, Jimmy Fallon gives a young comic a chance. That's what it is. I'm the host, and, you've got 2 comics a show, and they're great, and they're new, and it's great to give them a voice, to get out there and get their first or second credit,
Are you able to spot the talent over a season? Is it obvious when the person has it, when they step up?
I was able to give chances to a couple people that I know and like, and they picked some people, so it was a good mix. So definitely people I knew that I liked, but there's definitely some that I didn't know that really popped, and then so it's always a mix, but it is nice to discover new people.
Like, I wondered for some of those folks who are obviously on their journey, as you say, maybe just getting their first and second television credit, like, for a lot of art forms, I don't know if you know the saying, like, you need 10,000 hours to finally become a professional at what you do. And it's sort of trying to gauge, like, what version of that are they on usually when they hit that stage.
I totally agree with it. Malcolm McDowell, you definitely need 10,000 hours, It's about, I don't know if it's either 20 years of a 8-hour job, but the Beatles did it in like 2, so they're playing like 20 hours a day at that cavern. But I totally agree, and I think, I don't know what they are on, but I mean, I would assume that 10,000 hours is part, like, you could start getting credits before you have to do your total 10,000. But yes, that's definitely, I agree. Like, this is a legit credit in like people are working hard in the clubs and stuff to do it. But I understand what you're saying, because somebody was saying that the other day, how there's some shortcuts now. And I say, yeah, there's shortcuts to get success, but it doesn't mean the grind is different now, but the grind makes you good at your craft.
Now that's interesting that you say that, because a comparison towards too long ago probably isn't fair. And I think things have been going the way they've been going for quite a while now. But for a long time in comedy and lots of other art forms too, music, whatever, people that would start really making it, I think, would be a little bit older than what they would be now. Like, you can start to make a lot of traction very, very young, obviously because of things like TikTok or whatever. But to get those credits, it feels like it comes a lot sooner these days than maybe it would have, like when you were first starting or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a different time. I was thinking like how like bands, when I moved to LA in the late 80s, hair bands would go to the Rock. You know, you would go and you would audition, or you'd pay to play, and you'd do the Roxy every night, and then eventually you'd get one song, you try to get that song to a label, and so on and so forth. You know, it all depends how it works. But like, you can be on a talent show now and be seen and get popular off of that, or a TV show or YouTube. So it just depends on the work that you put in before that. It doesn't mean that you could be ready. I mean, there's people that could be ready and when they pop off these different formats. But I just remember seeing bands I knew that were so good, like the Roxy, and they could never pop. I don't know, maybe they were partying too hard, maybe they didn't. So it just depends. But some people put in the 10,000 hours and never make it. Some never do it, but I think doing it makes you good.
Yeah, what was it, Tom Petty, who said, they back then, of course we're talking about the 70s for him, but you couldn't even make an album until like your songs were so good and ready. The bedroom recording didn't exist then. It's like you had to have been on that road for so long before you were even really allowed in a studio. That
makes so much sense, because look at the music from that time. Look at the artists. Listen, I'm all about today. I can love songs from today, and I can respect artists today, and I do. But so correct. I mean, those guys' music will stand forever. The depth and the intricacies of their songs.
Just kind of shows. I think that does show some of the road testing. And again, that's no disrespect to new comedians today. It's no disrespect to new musicians today. I do find, I mean, that's my primary job right there, is finding new music. And, but it almost seems like you can tell a little bit of a difference. Like this was quick. This was quickly written and out there, and maybe it's great, but it's definitely, there is a difference. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'll bring up one more thing about coming to the stage too, and it goes back to you being a host, because again, is there a big difference in the material that you would present on stage to get things going? Like, how do you approach hosting differently than you would like your stand-up special? Like, I'm guessing topical doesn't exactly work because it's taped for later.
Yeah, that is harder, like I had some of my jokes that I kind of crossed over between my special and this, and I don't like to do that, but it's hard sometimes when you're doing so much. But I also wrote new jokes, and sometimes happy accidents happen, so I'm in and I'm out. I pop in and I do it and I pop out. But yeah, I was trying to get some new stuff in there too. You got to be quick, just say hello to the crowd, what's up, and then bam.
Well, that is an easy seg over to the new special, Stoopid Smart. It's interesting too, because reading about you talking about specials, I think as one part, maybe it's Twitter or something, you were talking about that you don't actually like to watch a lot of specials. I think at that point you were talking about Hannah Gadsby, something like that. But what's when you do have to put on something, because it's not just about jokes on a stage. I mean, what's the type of thought process that goes into making this something that becomes a special on TV?
It's so different now, like what we were just saying earlier kind of ties into it, the barrier to entry has changed, and specials used to be few and far between, and now there's a lot more, which I think is great, because comics get a chance to tell their audience their stuff, and audiences will find them, and audience will gravitate to who they like. For me, this is my third one, and so I was self-produced it with my friend, and we really were excited when we got to work with Tubi, because they're a new platform. But it was a couple years on the road, and then in LA, and then mixing it up, and then adjusting bits, and then trying it. And you try to put a whole theme together. An hour kind of makes sense, And I think I did mostly that. There's a little bit that gets a little random towards there, but most of it, it connects pretty well, And now I'm done, and I want to do another one.
But it does connect. I'll compliment you on that because it does flow, and I mean, one of my favorite things about the special is, of course, the callbacks. I mean, that's just part of the tradition to wait and see. Okay, they've set all this up. How are they going to bring it back home? How's it all going to come back around there? Which you do to find details, and probably one of the funniest reoccurring spots in it is, of course, Bradley Cooper and Matthew McConaughey bits. No,
I get, yeah. Well,
go on.
True. No, I was gonna say, in terms of special, Dick Gregory wrote a great book, and he's start with a joke, then you build a joke, and then you build a few jokes, then you build a hunk, and then you build a segment, and then you build an hour. And that's how I try to approach my specials, with a theme. But yeah, Bradley Cooper, Matthew McConaughey was one of the beginning jokes. So you can see, I start out kind of self-deprecating, and then I ingratiate myself and try to get the audience, to understand what I'm about. And that's real life. That's lemons out of lemonade. I mean, that was a real thing I read about myself, and I was like, Jesus, what did I do? And then I kind of and went from there. But it's a compliment.
Sure. No, you make it like one at least. Well, I got to tell you, the McConaughey impression, of course, is spot on. That shouldn't be a surprise. You are an impressionist. You've been doing that for a lot through the years. I would be curious, have you ever had to do or been able to do an impression in front of the subject? Would you do the McConaughey bit in front of McConaughey and Cooper?
I think I would do it in front. That's a great question, dude. Thank God. I'm so happy. I just came off morning radio. You're so much more exciting. I would love to do it in front of McConaughey because I think he'd laugh and he would give me some tips. I think Cooper, because I don't really do him. I just use him as a byproduct. I think Cooper would get mad. I don't know. Something about it. I feel McConaughey would laugh and Cooper would just be like, yeah, okay, shut up. That's my vibe. And we're from the same area. Cooper's from Philly. I'm from Philly, but I think McConaughey would laugh more.
It is a fun way to hear you turn those lemons into lemonade, as you say, which seems to be, as in a way, I guess, that overarching theme. I don't know if you can break it down to one line or something like that, but even the dating scene that you're talking about into that, it's always about being in, less than ideal situations and still finding your way out of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's fun, I'm that's what this special's about. I go light, I go very relatable. My job is to make you laugh, I'm working on, I'm in my 10,000 hours now, deeply, but now I'm on the point where my next special, I always say there's 5 levels of comedy, and now I gotta approach the 5th one, which is convincing people the way I think and see if I can get them to think like me. And that's what comedy is. And so that's what the special is, fun and light for a while, and then I'll slowly get them on my side and some of my ideas about college and robots. And the next one will be much more about that. But again, as a comedian, I mean, I don't think you can preach to an audience unless you're either hilarious or super convincing, right? There have been people that can just stomp on an audience's head and make them die laugh, but you have to be bulletproof. But to get up there and just tell people your thoughts, if you don't have the jokes, then people be like, you're not my personal savior, so stop it. But the greats do, George Carlin and Richard Pryor do that. They do that with facts, and they do it with empathy, and they do it with amazing storytelling.
I was thinking more recently, I guess, I would bring up that Hannah Gadsby, what she did. I mean, that's such a
Hannah
unique
Gadsby's
way.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, look at you've got Chappelle and you've got Burr. These guys are masters at their craft, and then Hannah Gadsby was it was just a different voice. It's funny. I talked about her a lot. People ask me about it. They're like, "You really liked her special," and I don't know if she ever knows me or heard of me or whatever, but it was just a voiceless voice that had a voice. You don't hear that voice. She's I believe from Tasmania. I believe she identifies as a lesbian. She's a woman. She had trauma in her life. And then she did a 20-minute bit on Pablo Picasso and how art history is basically, you know, you guys worship a bad guy, but made it hilarious and educational. And it was really, she just kind of fucking ruined all art history, like, and educated me. And I was like, oh my God. And so for people that are like, oh, that's not stand-up special, it was art. I don't give a fuck what you call it. It was completely art. It was completely painful. And it was completely compelling. And I laughed and I cried. And that's really, really interesting. So, you know, and like you said earlier, like, I will watch specials, but I don't want to like get ideas because I want my own. But I do want to see what's out there to not like be on the same. But I watched hers and I heard about it and there was nothing. There's nobody talking what she was talking about. So that was pretty unique.
I like when any artist strives to do something original in that sense. And if you can still find a new rock to turn up, I mean, I feel like that's what it's all about.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of work to take things and it's so hard when you try to do something and then just convincing people of like, you got to really take the time to weave it out because she had to make it digestible, you know? That's what comics do. If you're a good comic, you take hard subjects and you make them digestible. And that's why pushback in comedy is happening, but it's weird, but it's you know, it's because people don't even want to talk about certain subjects. Comics do, but people don't want to listen. And it's like, look, we're trying to make these things digestible. And they're like, well, we don't need to talk about that. And, you know, I believe as a comic, everything is on the table.
Appreciate that coming from you. I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to awkwardly seg into the third section here because I want to bring up your movies too, and I'll use the easy seg though because you know in Stoopid Smart you do bring up Tremors. You've been in 2 Tremors movies. I know they are making a third one, another one, number 7. How much research do you put in towards the legacy of something like that, or are you able to just kind of walk into it as a fresh job?
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't research it at all other than finding out. I didn't do enough research, and I think that's okay because I want to have my own take on it. And I think that one of the reasons me and Michael Gross really have a chemistry, and I think it's, you know, it's because what you see on that screen is sometimes like us. I mean, I respect the hell out of him, and off camera, him and I will get along and have a nice dinner and a bottle of wine. But our working ways sometimes are very different. He's methodical. He's a Chicago-trained actor, and I'm a loosey-goosey nut. And so those two, you know, I'm like riffing and he's like, yo, this is the scene. And I think it works perfectly because the dad is so put together and the son is such a loose cannon. And that's how me and Michael really are. Like, we'll go to the market in South Africa and I'll have a whole map planted out on the day of which stand we're going to visit. And I'm like, dude, let's just go check out this one. They got falafels and this one's got chicken. He goes, nope, we're starting over here. This is the coffee bar. And then we're going down here to the tapas bar. And it's so funny. And I'm like, dude, it's our day off. And so it's kind of like that in our movies, but it's like that in real life.
That's fun. It's fun to have that relationship.
Yeah, but we respect each other, and he's the anchor of those movies, and I was very fortunate to be in them. I'm not in the new one, and that's another conversation for another day, but he's really, really is great in those movies, and so is the director, Don. They're very good. So I just researched. I knew what it was. I knew about the first one, and I didn't really know about the rest of them, and I was like, to be his son was a huge deal. Ever since then, people are like, you're his son. So crazy.
Well, it's fun to watch all these moments. I'll just quickly bring up, I know Trick is a recent movie, Crabs in a Bucket, and 50th birthday. Not a movie, but I feel like I should end on something like that because, you know, happy birthday.
Thanks, man. I know a lot's been going on and hit my 50th in the pandemic, but in a way, it was kind of good because it was a really good birthday, and it was a really takes the pressure off if you have your birthday in the middle of a pandemic. You know, and it's like couldn't have a party. You know, oh well, it's a pandemic, so
yeah, didn't have to worry about it.
I appreciate it, man, and thank you for your time. I really do.
No problem. It was a pleasure talking to you, Jamie. Thank you so much. Take care out there, and we'll see you around.
All right. Thank you, man.
My thanks to Jamie Kennedy. Again, Season 8 of Coming to the Stage. That's out now on Comedy Dynamics. Stoopid Smart, his new stand-up special, is on Tubi. And thanks to you for checking out this episode. Before you get out of here, I do hope you subscribe to the podcast. Brand new interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you can keep up with your favorite artist and discover some new ones, know what's happening in the music world, and sometimes the comedy world too. iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts from, that's where you can find us. After that, head to WFPK.org, where I do a show Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, an hour full of song premieres and music news, anniversary spins, and bonus interviews. It's WFPK.org. Consequence of Sound, they've got your music and film news. You can find me on most of the social media spots as well, at Kyle Meredith. I do hope you follow and like in those places. And that does it for another edition of Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.
Consequence Podcast Network.
It's easy to hear your favorite artist on WFPK from wherever you are. Listen on your smart speaker, live stream from our website at WFPK.org from Louisville Public Media.